Hi everyone, in this tutorial I want to show you how to run multiple containerized WordPress websites in one Ubuntu instance on AWS EC2. To do that, I assume that you already have an EC2 instance which has an elastic IP. The elastic IP is already set in your DNS for both root domain and www subdomain. And also you have configured your security group to expose port 80 and 443 to internet. Also, I assume that you have installed Docker and Docker Compose, certbot and Nginx in your EC2. With that, let's start with explaining how the architecture works. What we are going to do is to have one Nginx, and inside the Nginx we configure the websites that we want to serve, and they're going to serve the websites through Docker. We are going to separate each WordPress website, the database, WordPress files, and an Nginx instance inside a Docker Compose, and we can have multiple of these Docker Composes to serve each website. To do this, let's start with step 1, which is preparing the Docker configuration. We start by creating a folder with the same name as our domain, preferably, and it could be anything. Next, we are going to create docker compose.yaml file. Inside the file, we are going to add the definition for each container. As you can see here, we have a database, MySQL image, and WordPress files, as well as a web server. The web server and WordPress files share the same volume, which means the files on the WordPress are going to be shared with our web server. You can preferably change the name for each container to be unique. For example, here I have cointel.com, so I add a prefix ci_db. For the next website, I'm going to change this to something else. Also, as you can see here in the ports, we have port 80 mapped to port 80. But we need to change this to another port because, as you can see from the configuration, if our Nginx inside Docker Compose expose port 80 to 80, the next time we want to create another container, there will be a conflict on who is port 80, and the first one is going to get it. That's why we change the port to something else, and this way we can serve multiple websites. So let me quickly just copy the content of this website and change the port to 8090. And here we paste the content. I have put the file under this video descriptions, which you can copy. We should just quickly check if the formatting is correct, and if everything is fine, then save the file, and that's it. Next step is to create the environment file. The environment file is going to be used by our MySQL to create the database. For this, we add .env file and paste the content here Just make sure you can change the password for yourself and the user as well. Next step is to create a folder called Nginx conf. Inside this folder, we are going to add another file, nginx.conf, with the following content. This file is going to be used inside the Nginx, inside the container, to serve port 80, and it's going to serve all the WordPress files. Next step, after creating all the directories and files we need, we can run docker compose up-d. And this is going to create 3 containers for us, one database, one WordPress which contains WordPress files, and one web server which is going to access to those files and serve those files on the port 8090. The next step is to configure our global Nginx. For that, we need to add some configuration so that if the website is co-Intel, we read from port 80 and we proxy this to port 8090. To do this, we need to add some configuration under sites available and sites enabled in the Nginx config. So let's go to sites available first. Here we create a file with the same name as our domain, preferably. And inside that, we are going to add this configuration, which is going to serve port 80 for this domain. We paste the content and save. The next step is to create a soft link between the file that we created and another file with the same name under sites enabled. To do this, let's go to sites enabled folder first. Then run this command which creates a soft link between 2 files. And then we go back to sites available. As soon as we are done with this, we can reset our Nginx configuration and reload the new files. This command helps us to check the syntax if everything is okay, and if it is, then we can reset Nginx. Alright, with that, we have created the configuration for the global Nginx. And now if we call http://cointel.com, we should be directed to the WordPress inside our Docker Compose container. Let's go and test this. Well, this is working well, but as you can see, the website is not secure because it's being served under HTTP. In the next step, we're going to add certificate. To do this, we should run this command sudo certbot nginx, and this is going to add the certificate for our website. We select the website from the menu. All right. Now, if we go and test the website, it's going to work. Congratulations, we just created a WordPress website in a container in our EC2. To create another container, you can repeat the same process, except you just need to change this part in your configuration files. Thanks for watching, and I hope that was helpful.